All right, let's talk about something that I think we've all felt at some point. That universal pain in the professional world. The project that starts off with so much promise and then just ends in total chaos. Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why that happens and, more importantly, uncover two really simple, powerful keys to make sure your next project is a huge success. You know the feeling, right? The deadline just keeps moving, the budget becomes a funny memory, and the whole team is just scrambling to deliver, well, anything at that point. It's so frustrating, it's expensive, and honestly, it can feel like it's just unavoidable. But what if it's not? What if there's a predictable pattern to all this failure, a pattern that we can actually stop in its tracks? So let's get to the root of the problem here. A project failing isn't just some random event. Nope. It's usually a domino effect that starts with one single, critical mistake made right at the very beginning. Okay, so here he is, the villain we're all fighting, the surprise. You know, that constraint you never saw coming, or that amazing opportunity you couldn't pivot to grab. When these unexpected things pop up in the middle of a project, they kick off a whole cascade of bad things. And this illustrates that cascade perfectly. First, you get forced into rework, right? You're going back to the drawing board, just burning through time and money. Or maybe you try to ignore the problem, you push it down the line, and then bam, you're hit with massive delays and cost overruns. And finally, when you're totally out of time and cash, you have to cut corners and you deliver a final product that's just a shadow of what it was supposed to be. Sound familiar? So, how do we defeat this villain? Well, the first key is a really powerful principle: anticipation. It's all about looking ahead to stop problems before they even have a chance to start. It really is that simple. I mean, think about it. Kicking off a project without anticipating the potential roadblocks and opportunities. It's like setting off on a cross-country road trip with no map, no GPS, and maybe half a tank of gas. Sure, you feel like you're moving fast at first, but you are absolutely heading for a breakdown. Now, I know this slide is in Italian, but don't worry. The visual tells a really powerful story. Let's walk through it. The top path, you see it? The one with that long, drawn-out final phase? That represents the typical fast start approach. You just rush right into execution. But the bottom path, that's the secret. Notice how that first phase, the conception and definition part, is longer? This is the slow start. You invest more time up front, and that leads to a much faster, smoother, and way more predictable path to getting things done. And this quote, this gets right to the heart of why that slow start is so powerful. Think of it like this. Changing a blueprint for a house? That's easy. Changing the foundation of a house after it's already been built? That is incredibly difficult and so expensive. Planning early gives you the biggest possible impact for the least amount of effort. Okay, so that brings us to our second key. Anticipation is fantastic, but what are we anticipating for? You've got to have a destination, a North Star. You need to define what it is you're actually building. This diagram shows us that every single project is guided by two different kinds of objectives. Up top, we have continuity objectives. These are your big picture, long-term strategic goals. And below that, you have specific objectives. Those are the short-term, tangible results you need to deliver. And understanding the difference between the two is absolutely essential. And this breaks it down even better. On the left, those continuity objectives, that's the why. Why are we even doing this? It's what connects your project to the long-term mission of the business. Then on the right, you've got the specific objectives. That's the what. What exactly are we delivering? These are the measurable temporary results, the stuff defined by quality, time, and cost. You absolutely need both for a project to have real purpose. And here it is. This is where our two keys lock together perfectly. The very act of clearly defining your specific, measurable objectives, that is the most practical and powerful form of anticipation there is. It forces you to think about all the details, feasibility, resources, potential problems, right from day one. So how do you actually do it? How do you create those crystal clear objectives that guide everything? Well, luckily for us, there's a brilliant, simple, and proven framework for exactly that. To make sure your objectives are actually effective, they need to be SMART. This framework gives us a super helpful checklist for each letter, S, M, A, R, T. So let's quickly break down what each of those stands for. First up, S is for specific. The goal has to be totally clear. So instead of saying something vague like, improve the website, a specific goal is reduce the homepage load time. See, there's no room for misunderstanding there.
Next, M is for measurable. You gotta know when you've won, right? So for our website goal, it could be reduce homepage load time to under 2 seconds. Now you've got a clear finish line.
A is for agreed. Now, this one is critical, and it gets missed all the time. If your team, your boss, and your stakeholders aren't all bought into the exact same goal, believe me, you are just setting yourself up for a world of conflict down the road.
R stands for realistic. I mean, can this actually be done with the time, people, and money you have? A goal to reduce load time to 0 seconds? Probably not realistic. Ambition is great, but delusion is a project killer.
And finally, T is for time-bound. You know, a goal without a deadline is just a dream. When does this need to get done? So let's complete our goal. Reduce load time to under 2 seconds by the end of Q3. Now that is a complete SMART goal. Okay, so let's bring this all together. The theme running through this whole explainer is actually really simple, but it's totally transformative. What you do before the project even begins matters more than anything else you do during it. So, to wrap it all up, if your projects feel chaotic, it's almost certainly because of a lack of anticipation. Don't be afraid of that slow start to do your planning, because that's exactly what gets you to a fast finish. And the absolute best way to plan is by setting those clear, SMART objectives. When it comes down to it, it's all about knowing your destination before you ever start the journey. So I'll leave you with a question to think about. Whether it's a huge initiative at work or just a personal goal you've set for yourself, what's one project you're working on right now that could really use a little more anticipation and a much smarter objective? Start there. You might be shocked at how smoothly you get to the finish line.